There's the defendant, and there's the plaintiff.
Guilty.
Somebody's guilty.
Yep, it's probably me, because I destroy everything.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to Tom's Tinkering and Adventures with special guest Justin.
I'm just special.
And special, Justin. Today we're working on the DR350 engine. If I remember, I will put a link on, we diagnosed it a little bit. Well, I started to diagnose it, then next thing you know, the engine was out. And I didn't really give you any video on that because if I remember right, I was working on a Toyota truck and a lawnmower and air compressor. Working on a bunch of stuff that day. But
R6.
yeah, we got busy. But I didn't show you how to take the engine out of the bike, but here it is. And we've already disassembled this side, which basically what I've done is we've removed the clutch cover and removed the clutch. Those are pretty simple items. And we're going to tear this engine all the way down. So we're going to take the valve cover off, the cylinder head, and then we are going to, the cylinder. And then we are going to split it. Which way is that? Vertically. So we're going to split it horizontally and then vertically. Yeah. So if you've watched my R6 engine video, that engine was actually split horizontally right along the crankshaft. On a 4-cylinder bike, that's how they do it. But on single cylinders and maybe some twins, they're split right here in the middle. Which is a little bit more difficult in my opinion, but this is not a difficult engine to work on. So we're going to get started. First thing we're going to do is take off all these valve cover bolts here.
Make your templates. That's what cardboard. Always hold on to some cardboard. Make your templates. So
yeah, if you don't have any other good way of labeling these, or well, I mean the shop manual breaks it down, but little cardboard templates. Here you go. Here's not the best one, but I did this on my R6. There's the rear. You can see I drew out the shape of it and then put all the bolts. That way I know exactly where they go back together, even though that engine is probably destined for the scrap iron pile. This one is not.
You'd be surprised that a lot of these engines, even though the bolt heads look exactly the same, the length of the shank or the threads will be different. So it's a little bit of pre-planning through making these templates will save you a lot of time when you reassemble.
All right, so we're going to draw the template. We'll get them out and we'll move on to the next step. All right, I kind of laid the engine down on its side a little bit here. Next, we're going to loosen up these camshaft bolts. I like to loosen one of them, then spin the engine, then take the other one out, then spin it back and take the last one out. Now, it's got this little safety thing that's flipped up over here, and this one's been reutilized so many times that
we're going to order a new one of those.
Busted up, yeah.
It's about time.
Yeah, we were supposed to order it the last time, and we didn't. And also going to take out this
cam chain tensioner.
I've already got that loose.
Oh, you loosened it?
I loosened it up. So I'm going to take that out, remove the cam sprocket, and then take the cam out, and then we'll be ready to take the cylinder head off.
All right.
All right, bolts are out of this cam sprocket. So what you do is you just, once the bolts are out, let's see if we can do this with one hand here. What you're supposed to be able to do. There you go. Slide it off a little bit like that, and then you lift the cam up. And it's kind of a little wiggle fest, which is fun.
It's the end cap.
That end cap doesn't hold anything in there.
No, but I want to get to this side of it. That's making it hard.
If you wait 1 second, one other thing that's holding us up is there's a little locator half moon thing in here. So if you get like a small piece of wire, you can push that out. Here, I'll grab it and I'll show y'all. All right, so here we go. We're gonna get it out with this needle nose, hopefully. Now don't lose that. Take that out. Now the cam should be able to slide a little bit side to side, make it a little bit easier. This is how it works in the real world. Sometimes you could do this too, buddy. Sometimes you can get the cam chain off of here. Sometimes, there you go. Now, let's Ta-da.
There we go.
Hit the stop button. All right, so since we already took the cam off, cam chain drop down. Ideally, if you're working on this in the bike or whatever, you're gonna hook your piece of safety wire or rope or whatever to hold it up. But we just let it drop down here. So we're gonna take this gear off. Now, I think this is the only one on the entire bike that is reverse thread. So if you try to loosen it, you know, going counterclockwise, you'll tighten it. I've already loosened this up though. So that comes off. And then this, I believe is this sprocket drives the clutch basket, I believe. And this one here drives the oil pump. And then that, well, I'll let the assistant do this here. Voila. And then you have a key here that comes out. And then also this inner sprocket, I do believe, comes out, which is our cam chain drive.
What kind of keys are these called?
What would you call that key? I would call that a
Woodruff key?
Woodruff? That's a pretty cool name. Woodruff Wilson? Isn't he our president?
I don't think that's the same.
That's not
guy.
the same.
It's a Woodrow.
That's a Woodrow.
Yeah.
That's different. And there's our cam chain drive sprocket. A little bit of weird corrosion looking stuff on there, huh? Look at that.
Interesting. Maybe this is the bearing that went to crap for some reason or another. That looks like caramelization.
It does. I mean, you wouldn't have corrosion inside of an engine.
No.
So.
But this looks like oil that was exposed to very high temperatures, and then it starts to caramelize.
Or pressure from a bearing going out. So we can't get to that anyway without taking this cylinder head and cylinder off, because this is obviously holding the two halves together. So we're going to remove the cylinder head bolts. There's 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then these, well, that's just for the cylinder head. And then these go all the way through the cylinder, hold the cylinder head and the cylinder to the main case, and then these 2 bolts. So first we'll get those 4 out and we'll show you that. All right, so we got the 4 bolts out, and then there's also a stud with a nut on the rear and the front of the cylinder head, and now the cylinder head should be ready to be removed. Should be. This is awesome.
Always get like the most surface area as possible.
Well,
because the cooling fins are.
I don't know. I'd be hitting it with something metal though. I would maybe grab a piece of wood block, but
yeah,
that would be smarter. But we're not on Smart Garage today. There you go. Cylinder head is removed. There is our valves. You want to be sure that you do not lose these locating dowels here. They'll usually stick into either the cylinder head or the cylinder. This isn't quite ready. There's 1 and 2. We'll remove those and we'll be right back. All right, this is removed, and the cylinder should just pull straight off at this point.
Just move this oil scavenge line to the side a little bit.
Should have removed it, but as usual, we're doing things incorrectly.
Okay.
There you go.
There you go. Sweet. Remove the skirt from the piston. There's a good amount of tension there, so the rings seem to be making a good amount of suction.
Yep, no stuck rings. It's got some carbon on top of the piston, which is not bad.
Yep.
All the rings look good.
Look good. The gaps aren't all lined up to create a compression leak.
Looking down here, check out the rod bearings. They feel okay initially.
Yeah, no play.
We will remove this piston next, and then we can start working on separating the 2 halves.
Time to punch out this kingpin.
Piston pin. All right, so we were concerned about all that mess that was here, and I'm still not certain that this bearing shouldn't turn. I don't think it should be pressed onto this, I think, but that may be a problem. But we believe we found out where the issue is when we a little bit less light maybe. There you go. So when we took the piston off, we saw this mark on this counterbalancer here. And then Justin was moving the crankshaft back and forth. And here, there you go.
There we go.
And what's happening is the counterbalancer is hitting the crankshaft. So that shouldn't happen because, here, we'll look inside of here and I'll show you. Let's go on this side over here, Justin, let me. So it is geared to the crankshaft, so there's no way that should happen. But I read about this a long time ago on some DR350s. There's a pin that holds that gear to the counterbalancer, and the pin either bends or breaks, and then that allows your counterbalancer to lose time, and you have issues like that. So it wasn't making a terrible noise yet, but I think if this man hadn't been smart and stopped riding it, he called me and I picked him up and gave him a ride home. If we hadn't done that, I think we would have destroyed this engine. So now we just have to complete the teardown of this, and while we're in there we can replace the bearings if we need to. I don't think we're gonna have to do anything to the crank, even though it's taken a tiny bit of abuse. I think we stopped it in just the right time here. It looks like it's slipped even worse now since messing around with it.
Now it's becoming a much larger interference than it was previously.
Yeah. I think we should be able to freely move this part of it without the gear moving, if we're correct in our assumption. And we'll find out. We're going to get the rest of this taken apart. I don't have a flywheel puller for the flywheel on this side, but I think we can split everything off of this side of the engine and just leave the flywheel attached. We will know momentarily. I think all we have left to do on this side is, well, this just pulls out. This just pulls out. I don't know as if the oil pump has to come off. And I don't know if we have to take that apart. We'll figure all that out, but we'll come back and show you where we're at before we split it.
Here, I'll hold it for you.
Yeah, we got it. Before we started taking it apart, I don't know how good the light is in here, but there we go. We got handy dandy light guy here.
Light guy.
This gear on this crankshaft is just free spooling with the crank. So even though I think the DR350 problem I read about was on the counterbalancer, this is actually the gear that drives the counterbalancer off the crankshaft that's spinning, and I don't know if that's the normal problem or not, because I only looked it up just a little bit to verify that I was thinking of the right thing. But anyway, that is what our issue is. Okay, we don't have the flywheel puller tool here, so we're just going to leave this on this side, and then hopefully this side will come off. The crankshaft will stay in this side. I've removed everything applicable on this side. The shift mechanism off the shift drum. I, of course, pulled the kickstart gear out and the shift selector lever there. Everything should be good to go. All the bolts came in from this side. So far, we haven't found any surprise ones, so we're gonna get to trying to tap this thing apart a little bit. There you go. We can see we're getting a little bit of action here. So if you look around on these engines, there's usually a little area where you can get some purchase on it. Now, you don't want to stick a screwdriver in there and pry them apart. That's bad juju. See, there's a little area down here. Yeah. Of course, it's not going to help with the engine the way it is here, and some a-hole holding the camera and not helping. I'll come back once we got her opened up. Okay, so we're almost ready to split it here, and you can see this is definitely, I mean, we already know what's going on. So let's get this case half apart. So what we did is just slowly worked it. They sell a case splitter tool, it's called, but you can get by without one. And then right here is our problem. This thing is freewheeling on here, and if you look, you can see that there's a pin that's supposed to go through here, and for some reason that pin just slides on out of there. Look at that.
Gone forever. Hold on. Oh yeah.
It's down here by his junk. So we were concerned that that thing had split, but it looks like it just slid into here. I think our recommended course of action is probably going to be to get this all cleaned up and see if it could either JB weld it in there or have it spot welded. Either one would work. I guarantee that that won't be a problem. Now I wonder, I think I was incorrect. This thing can spin a little bit on there, and I think this bearing and that probably generated a lot of heat by spinning on there when it wasn't supposed to. That's why all this crap is on here like this.
Tell you what, it's a definite press fit on this gear right here. So maybe this press fit failed because this is definitely a loose tolerance fit.
And it seems odd that that would be a loose tolerance fit. You would think this would be loose tolerance because this slides over that, but either way.
Curious to see, do these come with them pressed in there? And then do you just slide them on?
Well, look, I looked at
just a keeper.
I looked at the parts diagram, and you can order this and that pin separately, so I don't think they come press fit. But wow, I think you really dodged a bullet by stopping this when you did, because man, that counterbalancer hitting on this rod and crank could really cause some damage.
That definitely has some.
Well, yeah, it was making
some texture to it.
It was making contact, but you stopped it before. You stopped it before it caused major damage.
Everyone should know what a spun bearing sounds like.
It didn't sound like a spun bearing to me. Wow, amazing. So all for, and I looked up that part. It's like $1.50. $1.50 part is what caused us to have to split this engine in half. Okay, so we pulled that pin out, and it didn't easily go into this gear. We had to, we tried to just tap it in with a hammer and it wouldn't, but we had to use the vise and squeezed it in there, and it fits in there pretty damn tight. I don't know how that thing came out, but I guess just over miles and miles, it must have worked its way out a little bit at a time. As of right now, I mean, I would almost feel confident putting it back together, or maybe even put some JB weld on it, but what we're going to do is, well, we got it on there, cockeyed. What we're going to do is Justin's going to take it to a buddy of his who's a good welder. I have a welder, but not only is the welder not good, but the welder operator isn't that good either.
It's good for doomsday.
It's good. Yeah, I could get by in doomsday situations, but he is going to get that welded directly to this.
So 100% penetration.
Yeah, just it doesn't even need much, just enough to hold that on there. And then we will put this back together. We'll slide these two case halves together, and then it's just a matter of purchasing any gaskets or consumables that we have gone through on this. And what's the one item that we didn't replace last time, that cam thing? Make sure we get one of those. Yeah. And this thing was already having some leaking anyway, so we have a shifter shaft seal on that side we can change out. Might as well change out the counter shaft seal. And inspect the transmission. Everything looks pretty good already. We'll take a good look at that. I think this bearing is just fine. We both looked at that. I think everything is okay. I think we stopped, he stopped this thing before it caused damage.
Well, I mean, this pin right here, it just flies right through that hole.
Yeah, you could just push
it was just stuck in there.
We could just push it through with your pinky. So
but it didn't get let loose inside the engine, which this piece right here would just imagine this little pin in here.
Yeah, chewing things up. So I think you won. You didn't win the big lottery, but you won like a scratcher.
Yes.
With this, so like a
$5. Play again.
Well, maybe
the tickets are $1.
Maybe like a $50 scratcher.
Ooh, that's good.
It's like you could say you won the lottery, but not really the lottery. But definitely sucks that we had to take an engine apart. But it's awesome that we found out what the problem was and that it wasn't something too catastrophic. Although it very well could have been. Man, having that thing smash on there would not be good. But we need to order up some gaskets and stuff, and the biggest problem is that that cylinder is a 435. Is that what it is, Justin? I can't remember.
It's a 435.
Yeah, so that's not a stock head gasket. So we're gonna have to purchase aftermarket head gasket, which I think we can still get those.
Look at the bottom of the connecting rod. It's a good time right there.
Yeah, yeah. There's some definite strikeage on there, but like I said, I think you stopped it before major damage happened. It's funny, it didn't sound terrible.
No, but so that bearing sound that I think I was hearing was this free spinning.
Yeah, probably. Wow.
I'm scared of bearings.
Yeah, bearings are a bad thing. I had an R6 engine already, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good time. And now the DR350, but we are going to get some parts on order. And Justin, when do you think we'll get started on this thing?
Oh, 2 weeks.
2 weeks. That's Justin's catchphrase, 2 weeks. He's been working on a lot of things for 2 weeks, so there's a little different time space continuum in Justin's world, but I love it.
I've been working on my marriage for about 2 weeks, too.
Me too. We love our ladies. It's on video. Just say it. We love our ladies. We're good.
Yeah, we love them.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I mean, they put up with us. They're maybe not happy with everything we do, but
And our kids.
yeah, of course. So there you have it. DR350 engine teardown diagnosis. We found the problem. Tune in next episode. It won't be next episode. It's going to be a minimum of 2 weeks before we get this thing back together, but we will get it back together, get it back in the bike, and you will hear it run again.
See you in 2 weeks.
All right. If you're digging what I'm putting out, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and if you're not already a subscriber, please consider doing so. I would appreciate it. Thank you very much for watching. Get out there and find your adventure.
Find your adventure.
Adios.